Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it is April 28th of 2022. Wow. The CNN webpage, Russia attacked the Ukraine, apparently attacked the city that the United Nations, head of the United Nations or whatever, as he was visiting. Wow, all of this is such... Thank God we have President Biden instead of President Trump right now. Trump wanted to take and tried to, move to get the United States out of NATO. He also wanted to cut spending to NATO. Trump also withheld money from the Ukraine in order to get in. He told the president of Ukraine, well, started an investigation of Biden's son, and then I'll make the money. So thank God we have Biden, but what a mess the situation is. I don't know. I never served in the military, so I don't have any experience from, although President Trump said because he went to a 4-year ROTC school that he knew more than the military people. That's before he was elected. He probably said it after he was elected too. But he said he knew more, so I guess I know more because I went to a 4-year ROTC school. What a mess, what a mess, Should the United Nations remove Russia? Russia has a veto vote, Should the United Nations remove Russia from the United Nations and then do like the United Nations did in the Korean situation and send United Nations forces, which would be basically the world, into, which of course this is now, that would be we don't want nuclear war against the poor, if it was a nuclear weapon against, Putin, yes, but to wipe out the Russian people, they're misled. Of course, half of our people here in the United States are misled by, Trump and those people. I don't know what the answer is, I don't think there is. Well, thank God we do have smart people. There are smart people. Just it doesn't appear we have any smart Republicans. We used to have some decent, smart Republicans, but I don't know what the solution, I don't know what the solution is. It's a mess. Which one of these do I need to turn off? I think this one, right? Yes. It's important that, we have democracy worldwide. Well, is it? You know, because, you know, if you have a democracy, what are you gonna have, really? I guess I'm just a little depressed, and I'm not competent to speak on any of these issues, you know. I guess probably very few people are. Thank God for our military. In general, you know, we have an excellent military, and the people in it have done an excellent job. And, you know, for the American people, we just need to protect our democracy here and educate people better. People have to be educated better. People need to be, I'm not sure what you call it, but they need to be able to understand information. This is going to sound like I'm bragging or what. I'm not, but if you watch my videos, you know I had to go to summer school the last year of grade school because I couldn't spell. And the nun at the Rockhurst, I was sent to, well, I don't know anybody else in my school that went to summer school. But the nun there said, you know, the reason you people can't spell is because you don't read. And I was sitting there thinking, no, sister, I read. And I read all the time, and I was ordering books like crazy from the government printing office. I was ordering in field manuals on fighting in the Arctic and in the jungles and other, you know, everything. I was, you know, that was not my problem. My problem was my hearing was really messed up, and so I couldn't. The only time I remember my father or mother actually taking they must have got a notice that I was going to have to go to summer school or something for not being able to spell. Because I remember my father sat me down at the table, and you are going to have there was a list of words, you know, spelling words. You're going, and he was hollering at me, and he eventually just gave up. But my parents knew that I had hearing loss, but I'm not sure they understood it. Not that they were stupid or anything, but so then I went to, you know, De La Salle Military Academy, Christian Brothers School, and I was in civil. I did not study at school at all, except for the military class, which I got straight A's in. Everything else, of course, they already had tested, you know, in order to get in, you had to take a test. And they had, you know, 2 homerooms of dumb kids. Of course, they never said that, but I could figure that out. And 2 homerooms of smart kids. You know, I was in one of the dumb, you know, homerooms. We got typing and bookkeeping and general mathematics, and of course we had, you know, we all got religion or whatever. But the kids in the 2, you know, the 2 homerooms that were the smart kids, they got Latin and Greek. You know, physics and trigonometry and all that type of stuff, and that was all based off a test in order to get in. You know, you took a test to see if you could get, you know, into De La Salle, and then that's how it was based. But you know, I got to say, the test actually was. I deserved to be in the, you know, the class of dummies. But I wasn't doing anything at school, but I was in the Civil Defense program for Kansas City, Missouri. I was in the Ground Observer Corps, going out, standing a post on top of the Army Record Center, watching for Russian aircraft. I took a class in being a radiological monitor. And what else? I mean, just a ton of stuff. And I was a shortwave listener. I put out a monthly publication that went out to hundreds. Where's the book? I should hold it up. I'm mentioned in a book on shortwave radio, on multiple pages in there because of things that I did. I was one of the founders of the People to People organization. So anyway, somehow, God did not treat me well. I mean, having of course, I understand a lot of people, believe me, have worse, but God didn't give me a giant penis or even an average penis, I don't think. I got shortchanged, I think, on a bunch of things. But somehow, for some reason, something in the brain, I was able to read and understand. And we have a nation, apparently, that half of the nation can't tell when they're being fed propaganda, when they're being fed. That was part of the thing, actually, for that year that I had to read, at summer school. The nun had us read. That was fine with me. I read all the time anyway. But in order to, there was a test that went with the books that we had to read. And it tested you on the book. I don't remember what the books were. But you were tested. And one of the things that it didn't, just do like how fast you could read the book. It tested for how well you understood the book. And it even tested for if you could pick out inconsistencies, if you could pick out things that were not right or correct or whatever. So then in high school, I think it was the junior year, I've asked this question before. I guess we don't have any teachers that come to this site because nobody's ever answered it, or else we don't have any, they don't have it anymore. In junior year of high school, all across the United States, every school in the junior year gave at the same time the National Scholarship Test. And then we got back the results, and it was like, it was graphed. It looked pretty neat because it was like, hey, computers were kind of, we had computers back then, but not like we do now. But the test, well, the normal subject that you would test high school, science and math and all this type of stuff. And it was, printed out on a graph and with a number. And of course the general overall number put me just slightly above average. And the thing showed how you did versus the other students in your school. And then it did testing on against your state or something like that, how you did in your state or whatever. And then it did testing against the National, and then it showed it on a bar. So anyway, I looked at the thing and I saw, okay, I'm just slightly above average. I was happy with that. you know. I mean, if I'd have been smart, really smart, and the thing came, and it showed really, really smart, I'd have been really, really happy. But I looked at it and it had me slightly above average. I thought that's fine with me. But then I looked at the graph, and they had these, and there was this, the line, and then it goes down to like the bottom, and it was like 10% or something like that. I thought, oh my God, what is that? And it was math. 90% of the juniors in the United States were better at math than I was, and I was in the bottom 10%. I thought, that's not good, I mean, I still can't. Then I looked at the thing, and this thing went all the way to the top. Maybe I was 90 instead of being 10. Maybe I was 10%. I was maybe 90, or I was at the top. And I thought, what in the hell is that? And I had to look that up, and it was a reading, but it was the same as like the ability that you have to understand what you read and to pick out. And I thought, wow. And I thought then, I may need somebody. I may never be able to be a cashier, work at McDonald's and give change, even though they use it, computerized it. I thought, but I thought, well, this is if I have to, this is a good trade-off, And it turned out that it is. I can look at this crap and I can listen to a speech and that type and say, this is, this is bullshit, or this doesn't make sense, or these people are lying. I have that ability. I don't think you can make any money doing that, having that ability. And of course, I started out life as a welder. You don't need that ability. Actually, being a welder, you needed some math, where to burn a hole, in a truck or something, or other, for somebody to go through at a certain spot. You had to need, I don't know what you even needed, calculus, trigonometry or whatever, but I didn't have that. But later in life, that ability of being able to see bullshit and recognize it, and came in handy for me. It didn't come in so handy for my, for my bosses, because and then also another thing that didn't help my bosses was I wasn't afraid to let them know when they were wrong. And another thing that made me, I'm not sure that was a good idea. I should have just had a job where, but I couldn't. I was fighting racial prejudice when the director of security was racist as hell, and when other people were racist as hell. And I didn't stand for it. And I couldn't stop myself. Oh, but what I was going to say was, I helped my father when I was high school or before, even before, fighting to clean up his union. And he eventually got elected, and then he was made one of the business agents. And well, in order to get him, to get elected or whatever, he went to, the meetings, union meetings, which took a lot of guts, by the way, for him. And I mimeographed stuff off for him and looked stuff up and made, bumper stickers and all this kind of stuff. And when he got elected, then they appointed him to there was a business agent and 2 assistants, so he was one of the assistant business agents. And during the time that he did that, the agency, I forget which one it was, National Labor Relations Board or one of the others, just about every day, this is before the internet, just about every day they would send rulings and things that had happened, updated information, which went into a giant folder that he had. And so I would take out the old pages. It would tell you remove pages such and such, and I would remove those, but I would read them. And then of course I read the new ones that I put in the correct order. But I don't have any solutions to what's going on now in the world, except we do need to somehow, and I don't know how we do it. We have about half of our voters that, if they had taken the National Scholarship Exam on ability to understand and see prejudice or errors in the information that you read, their line would not have gone up to the top. They'd have been down where I was in my ability at mathematics. Now my ability got better at mathematics because I had to use it some. Except not, I remember working as a welder and like the gigantic trucks that we made. You probably heard of Kenworth trucks, the 18-wheeler truck. They also owned the KW Dart truck company. And if you've seen mining situations on television, or maybe if you've worked in a mine someplace where the trucks were humongous, we built those humongous trucks. And the way we built them, it was basically, we had sort of a lead man, and then there was 2 or 3 of us, the welders and what have you. And luckily the lead man we had, when it came to, sometimes a hole had to be cut or something in the truck, and it couldn't be off. There was, I forget now what it was, something went in there, a joint, underneath the truck. We worked in the body shop. So there was a young guy, and he knew it. He asked me a couple of times, because he wanted to make sure he got it right too. He always did, though. But he says, "Jim, does this look correct to you?" And I said, "I have no idea. It's Greek. Is it Greek or Chinese or something? I have no idea." So of course he stopped asking me. But now, of course, I went to welding school, and then on my own I learned blueprint reading and that type of stuff. From whatever job I worked at, I tried to learn. A little harder for me to learn. Anyway, I don't know. Should the United Nations kick Russia out, and then we'll no, that then, you know, have the United Nations declare a police action and send the world in there. No. I thought that Putin was smarter than, I thought he was pretty clever. I mean, not a supporter of him in anything. Even though in high school I was called, well, in high school hardly anybody noticed me, you know. But the homeroom that I was in, and I forget what class it was, there was a brother, Peter, who sold paperback books. So I read those too. You had to buy them, you know. But I forget why the discussion came up. It was something about how, you know, of course it was like, you know, the Cold War going on, and it was, something came up in the class about how it would be the USSR, how we were smarter, you know, than the USSR. And it was, you know, us versus communism and that type of thing. Anyway, they were bad-mouthing the USSR, and they said something about technology or something like that. And I said, no, just to be, you know, on the other side. I said, no, they're going to be launching a satellite into outer space. You know, no satellite had been launched by any country, and of course it turned out the USSR launched Sputnik 1 after I so I got the name. I'm not sure if they gave me the name, the, you know, nickname then, or when the USSR did launch Sputnik 1, then they came up with, you know, comrade, you know, for me. How did I know? Well, I was trying to learn to read Russian, and I had, you know, books on learning Russian. I was listening to, you know, Radio Moscow. They had some classes there, but it was difficult with shortwave radio and with my hearing loss, you know, because of static and that type of stuff. But I subscribed to, you know, the propaganda magazines that I checked one time later on to see if I was on like an FBI, you know, list or whatever. And it came back that I wasn't. I was kind of surprised. But I think when you do a request for that, I think that the government makes you better put the ask the correct questions, you know. And maybe I was asking if the FBI had information on me, and, you know, maybe they're looking, let's see, well, there's a large CIA packet on this guy, but he asked FBI, and so, okay, there's no, you know. So, but I was trying to learn Russian. I also tried to learn, I tried repeatedly to learn Spanish, you know, off of, in the beginning, 35 RPM, you know, records, and then off of tape. And my hearing loss just, I didn't realize it at that time. I knew I had hearing loss, but I didn't know it, yeah. So I hooked back up my LG 30, I just did it before I started this, 34-inch monitor, because it just works out better. You know, half of the screen is, you know, what you're seeing. And here I have this other half of the screen, and it has other information on there that I want to use. It has OBS controller right there. I can see it all the time. I can see the volume level of the microphone. I mean, all that type of stuff. So anyway, let's again thank God that former President Trump did not get us out. He wanted to get us out of NATO, and he also wanted to cut the money that we put into NATO, or if we stayed in NATO, he wanted to cut back, and he wanted the other nations to increase what they gave, and it just, thank God. I don't know what we would do if we had Trump in the White House now. And you know, and of course he talked about Putin. Well, he talked about Kim Jong-un, or from North Korea, being his buddy. He mentioned like that they were lovers or something. Rather, he didn't, you know. But then he mentioned that Putin understood him, and he understood Putin, and they were best buddies. And of course, after he had a meeting with Putin, Putin gave him a gift, apparently, of what was it, a ball of some kind, basketball, something like that. It had a bug in it. Putin, which is not unusual for United States and all the countries probably to do that, but Trump thought that Putin was his buddy, and he also had private conversations with him, and Trump made sure that the translators, he took the translators' information, you know, the work that he did, so that the news media and fellow Republicans and members of Congress and everything else would not know what he talked about. So, I mean, wow, you know. We lucked out in one area. We didn't luck out with him being elected, but we lucked out that he wasn't reelected. The poor people of the Ukraine, wow. What do you think about Mark Zuckerberg? That's not it. What is it? Whatever. Buying Twitter. I don't like Twitter at all. I never use. Well, I take that back. When I make this video, when I upload this automated, I have it set up that way. A thing will be sent to Twitter that will appear there that I have a new video, and I think you can actually watch it on. I'm not sure about Twitter, but same thing with Facebook. I don't like Facebook, but that thing goes to Facebook, and you know, so. Did the microphone pick up my stomach growling? I just woke up a while ago. Oh no, now this must be a violation of penguin human rights or whatever. There's a tiny robot that's spying on penguins in the Antarctic. Come on, we need some agency, we need a group to protect the rights of, you know, Republicans insist, and actually the Supreme Court ruled with them, that corporations are people and that they have rights just like you and I have. So I guess the Russian or the Republicans also think that penguins are probably entitled to, or else maybe it's the robot that's entitled to. Oh, screen just. Oh, you're not even seeing that. Yeah. Just change, let's see. Okay. Nope, that's not it. That's not it. Whoops. There it is. That's interesting. On Mars, a helicopter, I mean, not a, you know, it was, we had to launch it, you know. A helicopter takes photos of debris field on Mars. Wow. Let's see, CDC confirms a case of bird flu in Colorado. You know, this virus that we're going through now, it sucks. You know, we've been sort of locked down for about, 2 years. And we don't know what's going to, how the virus is going to change. I'm so old, I don't want to, I don't want to get the virus. And I definitely would not want to be intubated. I worked hospital security for 30 years. A camera captures a jaw-dropping view inside of a shark's mouth.
When a tiger shark has an eye out for a tasty morsel, apparently even the eye of a camera will do. Giving us a jaw-dropping view inside the
Well,
mouth
that's
of
sort
the
of
shark.
impolite of us
Like
to
Jonah's point of view
hold
inside
the shark's mouth open and shove something in there. Sharks have rights too, don't they?
Have been weighted down in the sand. Divers shooting a documentary about sharks.
Sharks have what, mothers and fathers or something?
And the shark just passed by, he saw this shiny thing, and he was like, well, what is that? And then he just tried to
Filmmaker, who calls himself Jimmy Duck Kid, hates the portrayal of sharks as killers.
Okay, this is about 39 minutes. Oh, I didn't even, let's see. I have a new phone. Actually, I have 2 phones now. I replaced my Motorola G stylus with this phone, the Bison X10 PRO. Actually, I think it's called, no, it's, not sure it's called that, but it's, so far I like it. I like it, it's built rugged. If you're a worker, which I was all my life, usually 2 jobs, this is probably the cell phone for you. And I like things that are rugged. This is also waterproof. And so when we have a storm around here, I'll be going out for sure, with this to test it out. I just got it, today. So I don't have everything set on it. And I went with the basic stuff. I didn't install, I installed my contacts and all that type of stuff, but I didn't install all of the apps that I have on. I have another phone, by the way, and I think that's the Pixel, if I remember correct. And I have service on both of them. And I don't like, you probably, if you watch, I don't like to talk on the phone to anybody. And that's mostly because of my hearing problems. And unfortunately, my hearing problem doesn't work well with people with an accent or something like, that makes it even worse. I've had to call 911 a couple times in the last couple of weeks, and even talking to the dispatchers and that type of thing. Anyway, I like the phone. I haven't really tried. I mean, I looked at the app. I haven't taken a picture with it or anything. But I've got a whole bunch of apps. Oh, like in the morning. 3 of the planets, I think, are lined up in a row early in the morning. And for years, from the time I was, I know in high school, maybe in grade school, well, I subscribed to Sky and Telescope, the astronomy magazine, and I kept track of when I was working as a welder or at the post office or any of all the other jobs that I have. But when I started working hospital security, I usually worked the midnight shift, and I kept trying. So I'd be out in the parking, I'd be out in the parking lot when employees were coming into work or going home early in the morning or something. I'd be out there, and they'd come out, and I'd say, "Look, there's Mars," and they weren't very interested. They really weren't very. But I pointed that out to them. I thought it was pretty neat, especially when you get some type of, when you get a bunch of them together, and all that type of stuff. Anyway, time for me to say it's about 10:30 p.m. I think my son might be sleeping, my grown son. I think I'll go check on him. And maybe he'll go out early in the morning with me, and we'll look at the planets. So anyway, thank you very much for watching.